All right, guys, we're 2-0 at our last couple of board member tier package bets on Pt.2. And if you want to access today's board member tier package bet, the link for that play is in the description section below. We're also 6-3 in our last 9 extra daily bets on that very same website. And if you want to access today's extra daily bet, it's only going to cost you just $2.99. Now, we currently have over 835 members who are signed up and active on that website right now. And if you want to know what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my website, I'll explain a little bit more about that at the end of the video. But with that, guys, let's go ahead and dive into our part 2 video here today. And we're going to start with the A's taking on the Rays, 6:40 Eastern first pitch on Tuesday, April 12th, 2022. Now, Tampa Bay's minus 205 with the total at 8 runs. Tommy Romero for Tampa Bay. Adam Oller for Oakland. Now, Oller makes his debut here this afternoon with Oakland. Kind of a shaky spring training for the righty. Having said that, though, Adam did strike out 9 batters in just over 6 innings of work. And this Oakland lineup, they're in the top 5 in the league in home runs. I don't know why I said it like that. Home runs. But anyway, Chad Pinder, he has a couple of homers on the season, along with 4 runs scored. Meanwhile, Seth Brown, he hit a couple of home runs himself, and he also has 7 RBI. He's actually second in the majors in that runs batted in category. Now, they're taking on a Rays team who's in the bottom 10 in home runs allowed, and they're also in the bottom 5 in opponents' OPS. Tommy Romero makes his debut today himself, after throwing just 1 1/3 innings during spring training. Now, total-wise, only one of Tampa Bay's games this year got over the total of 8 runs. Meanwhile, Oakland saw 2 out of their last 3 fall under the posted total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Oakland, plus 1.5, and the under 8 runs. Next ball game, Mets, Phillies, 6:45 East. Philadelphia's minus 150, totals 8.5. Zach Wheeler for the Fightins, Tyler McGill for New York. Now, McGill's officially 1-0 on the season, and he allowed 0 earned runs through 5 innings of work. This Mets pitching staff also allows only 2.7 runs a game, and they're leading Major League Baseball in opponents' OPS. Now, they're taking on a Phillies team who's getting little production out of a few key starters here this year. Center fielder Matt Vierling, he's 0 for 10 with a couple of strikeouts and 0 total bases. Hasn't been on base yet. Meanwhile, Bryce Harper, he's a pitiful 1 for 14 with 6 strikeouts and just 1 extra base hit. Obviously, the lone hit on the season was the extra base hit. But anyway, Harper, 1 for 14 to start the year. Now, the Phils also failed to cash in on the run line in their last 2 straight. When it comes to the total in this one, the Fightins saw 3 out of their last 4 fall under the line. Meanwhile, New York's 4 and 1 to the under in their last 5. I'm going to lean toward the Mets plus 1.5, keeping this one close, and the under 8.5 runs. Next game, Blue Jays, Yankees, 7:05 East. The New York Yankees are minus $1.20, totals 9.5. Nestor Cortez for New York, Yusei Kikuchi for Toronto. Now, the Cooch struck out 163 batters last season in just 157 innings of work. Meanwhile, offensively, Toronto's in the top 3 in homers, top 3 in OPS. George Springer's got a 1.283 OPS this season, along with a couple of homers. Meanwhile, Teoscar Hernandez is 5 for 12 with a home run and 3 runs scored. Now, they're taking on a Yankees club who lost their last 2 straight. And they scored only 3 runs during that stretch. Matter of fact, the Yankees find themselves in the bottom 10 in scoring on average per contest. Meanwhile, Nestor Cortez, he has a 1.36 career whip despite a solid season last year. And when it comes to the total in this one, New York saw their last 3 straight fall under the posted number. Meanwhile, Toronto saw 2 out of their last 3 fall under the posted total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Toronto plus 105 and the under 9.5. Next game, Brewers, Orioles, 7:05 East. Milwaukee's minus 160, totals 9.5. Eric Lauer for the Brewers. Alexander Wells possible, but not yet officially confirmed for Baltimore. But I'll tell you this much, if it is Wells who's on the bump here today, he's coming off a season where he had a 6.75 ERA and he walked 16 batters and also allowed 32 earned runs in just over 42 innings of work. Now you throw in 3 hit batters into that very equation, and that gave Wells a whip of 161 last year. Now this O's pitching staff has already had problems this season. They're currently in the bottom 5 in opponents' batting average, and they're also amongst the worst in the American League in striking batters out. They're taking on a Milwaukee team who's led by Willie Adams, who's 4 for 15 this year with a homer and a couple of RBI. Meanwhile, Rowdy Tellez has an OPS of 1.194. And he also has a couple of runs batted in as well. And speaking of the pitching in this one, the Brewers are fanning nearly double-digit batters a game. And they currently rank in the top 5 in Major League Baseball in fewest home runs allowed. Eric Lauer went 7-5 last season with a 3.19 ERA and a 1.13 whip. When it comes to the total in this one, all of Milwaukee's games this season fell under the total of 9.5 runs. Meanwhile, Baltimore is officially 4-0 to the under for the season themselves. I'm going to lean toward Milwaukee minus 160 and the under 9.5. Next matchup I have for you, it is going to be Marlins versus the Angels. That's going to be a 7:07 p.m. Eastern start time. LA is minus 145, totals 9 runs. Patty Sandoval for Los Angeles, Jesus Luzardo for Miami. Now the lefty Luzardo looked great in spring training. He threw just under 12 innings, and he allowed only 1 earned run and struck out 10. And as I said the other day, this is a Marlins rotation who's going to give opponents some problems. They're going to be tough. Right now, they're currently in the top 5 in opponents' batting average. They're taking on an Angels club who's in the bottom 10 in scoring, and they actually lost 3 of 5 to start the season. Now, pitching-wise, Patrick Sandoval has a career 4.42 ERA, and he really didn't show very good stuff in the preseason. Patty gave up 5 earned runs and 2 homers in just over 7 innings of work. Now, when it comes to the number in this one, LA's gone 4-1 to the under thus far for the entire season. Meanwhile, Miami on the other side, they saw 3 out of their last 4 fall under the posted total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Miami plus 1.5, keeping this one close, and the under 9. Next game, Nationals, Braves, 7:20 East. Atlanta's minus 155, totals 9.5. Bryce Elder, possible for Atlanta, not yet confirmed. Patrick Corbin for Washington on the other side. Now Corbin's officially 0-1 on the season with a 4.50 ERA and a 1.75 whip. Now that's just through 4 innings pitched, but still not a great start for Corbin. And really hasn't been a great start for this Nationals pitching staff either. They're currently in the bottom 10 in opponents' OPS. They're taking on a Braves squad who's led by Matt Olson, who's 8 for 16 with 5 runs and 13 total bases. Now Olson's officially got an OPS of 1.432. Meanwhile, Marcell Ozuna is 6 for 17 with a pair of doubles and 3 RBI. When it comes to the pitching in this one, the Braves are actually in the top 10 in the majors in strikeouts, top 10 in OPS. And if Bryce Elder does make his debut here today, he certainly showed some good stuff a few weeks ago down south. He gave up no runs and no hits through 7 2/3 innings of work in spring training. Now, total-wise, Atlanta saw 4 out of their last 5 get over the line. Meanwhile, Washington saw 2 out of their last 4 get over the posted total themselves. I'm going to lean toward Atlanta minus 155 in the over 9.5. Next ball game, it is going to be Dodgers, Twins, 7:40 East. LA's minus 135, totals 9 runs. Andrew Heaney for Los Angeles, Chris Archer for Minnesota. Now, Archer hasn't had an ERA in the 3s since the 2015 season. He's also thrown just over 19 innings since the 2019 season as well, so really not a whole lot of work for Archer here over the past couple of seasons. And speaking of the pitching in this one, the Twins staff is in the bottom 10 in striking batters out. They're taking on a Dodger club who's led by Chris Taylor, who's 4 for 7 with a couple of doubles and a run scored. Meanwhile, Gavin Lux is 3 for 8 with a couple of ribbies and 3 runs. When it comes to the pitching in this one, Andrew Heaney has a career whip of 1.26, which really isn't that bad considering he pitched most of his career for the Angels every season since 2014. I'm going to go ahead and lean toward the LA Dodgers minus 135 and the over 9 runs. Next ball game, Royals, Cardinals, 7:45 East. St. Louis is minus 155, totals 9. Dakota Hudson for St. Louis, Daniel Lynch for Kansas City. Now Lynch won just 4 games and 15 starts last season. 5.59 ERA and a 1.63 whip. Now the Royals are also allowing nearly 7 runs a game, and they find themselves dead last in opponents' batting average. They're taking on a Cardinals team who can definitely hit the baseball. They're currently leading the league in OPS, and they average over 6 runs a game. Nolan Arenado is 6 for 12 with a couple of homers and 7 RBI. Meanwhile, Dylan Carlson's batting .400 thus far with a pair of doubles and 4 runs scored. And when it comes to the pitching in this one, this Cardinals staff is currently in the top 3 in fewest home runs allowed. Meanwhile, starting pitcher Dakota Hudson, he's actually got himself a career 3.14 ERA. So things looking pretty good for the Cardinals in this spot here. Now, total-wise, St. Louis is 3-0 to the over thus far in the season. Kansas City saw their last 2 straight get over the line themselves. I'm going to lean towards St. Louis minus 155 and the over 9 runs. Next matchup I have for you, it is going to be Rockies versus the Rangers, 8:05 Eastern start time. Texas is minus 150 with the total at 10. Martin Perez for the Rangers, Chad Kuhl for Colorado. And although Kuhl had some pretty rough seasons with the Pirates, I mean, if you think about it, no one really has been able to succeed in Pittsburgh over the past decade or so. He did strike out 75 batters in just 80 innings of work last year. So you can tell the guy has the ability to get the job done. And even if he does get into trouble, the Rockies do have the ability to outscore their opponents. They got a really potent lineup. They're currently in the top 10 in scoring, top 10 in OPS. Chris Bryant, 6 for 18 with 4 runs and a pair of doubles. Meanwhile, C.J. Cron is 6 for 17 with a couple of homers and 6 RBI. And speaking of home runs, the Rockies are currently in the top 10 in homers per game. They're taking on a Rangers team who's arguably got the worst pitching staff in baseball right now. They're actually dead last in the majors in OPS. They're also in the bottom 3 in home runs allowed per game. Martin Perez, he really hasn't had a sub-4 ERA since 2013. And believe it or not, that was actually the only season in his entire career where he did that. Now, Perez had an ERA of 4.38 or higher in 9 out of his 10 seasons in the big leagues. So certainly want to think about that there. I don't know how the guy's been around for 10 years, with those kind of numbers. But anyway, total-wise, 3 out of Texas's last 4 ball games got over the posted number. Meanwhile, Colorado saw their last 10. Messed up on my notes there. They didn't play 10 games, but Colorado did see a handful of, not even a handful, but we've seen some overs with Colorado this year. It's going to be Colorado plus 1.5 and the over 10. Next game, it is going to be Astros, Diamondbacks, 9:40 East. Houston's minus 145, totals 9. Luis Garcia for Houston, Madison Bumgarner for Arizona. And even though Matt Bum was arguably the best pitcher in baseball at one point, that's been quite some time ago, as he actually hasn't recorded a winning season since 2016. And as a matter of fact, Bumgarner finished last year with an ERA of 4.67, and he also finished the year before that in 2020 with a 6.48 ERA as well. Now, this Arizona pitching staff is in the bottom 10 in runs allowed, bottom 10 in strikeouts. They're taking on a Houston team who definitely likes to hit the baseball. They're averaging over 2 homers a game and ranks amongst the better teams in the American League in scoring. Alex Bregman's 6 for 14 with a couple of homers and 6 RBI. Meanwhile, Jeremy Pena is 6 for 16 with a pair of doubles and 11 total bases. Now, pitching-wise, the Astros are allowing only 2.5 runs a game thus far in the year. Luis Garcia finished 2021 with an 11-8 record and a 3.48 ERA. Now, Garcia recorded 167 strikeouts in just 155-plus innings. When it comes to the number, Houston's 3-1 to the under in their last 4 ball games. Meanwhile, the Diamondbacks saw 3 out of their last 4 fall under the line themselves. I'm going to lean toward Houston, minus 145. And the under 9 runs. But that, guys, we're going to jump into our next and final matchup for the show. It is going to be Padres versus the Giants, 9:45 Eastern start time. Now, both teams are minus $110, pretty much a coin flip in this one. Totals at 8 runs. Yu Darvish for San Diego. Alex Cobb for San Francisco. And even though Cobb's coming off a solid year with the Giants, he's had an ERA in the 4s or higher in 4 out of his last 6 seasons. Now, this Giants pitching staff also ranks in the bottom 10 in opponents' batting average. Meanwhile, offensively, the Giants are scoring only 2.9 runs a game. So really, anytime Gabe Kapler gets his hands on you, you're not going to hit the baseball. Kind of a weird, quirky trend there. But anyway, they're taking on Yu Darvish today, who had a 2.38 ERA in spring training, along with 14 strikeouts and just over 11 innings of work. Now, the Padres, this pitching staff, they allow only 2.6 runs a game, and they're leading the majors in opponents' batting average. And when it comes to hitting on the offensive end of things, Eric Hosmer's 8 for 15 with 3 doubles and 11 total bases. Meanwhile, Jurickson Profar hit 2 home runs and knocked in 7. When it comes to the total in this one, San Diego's 4-1 to the under thus far in the season. Meanwhile, San Francisco saw 3 out of their last 4 fall under the line themselves. I'm going to lean towards San Diego, minus $110, and the under 8 runs. And with that, guys, that's going to do it for me. Don't forget to check me out on BrockPage.com. If you guys do end up getting a membership here today on my website, just keep in mind, you're going to get billed the day you sign up and then the first of every month following that. So if you do end up getting a membership here today on BrockPage.com, you're going to get access to that membership every single day all the way through the end of April. I always tell folks in every single video, the earlier in the month you sign up, the better. And guys, if you want to get access to every single bet that I give out on that website, you're going to want to think about signing up for my board member tier membership. Not only do board members get access to the board member tier bet itself, you actually get full access to every single package that I offer on that website every single day, all the way through the end of April. The board member tier is an all-inclusive package. Now, guys, you may be wondering what the difference is between what I do here on YouTube and what I do on my website. Well, what I do here on YouTube is I'll handicap the entire slate of games in any given sport, side, and total. And what I do on BrockPage.com is I actually share with you which one of these free YouTube picks on my channel that I'm actually betting on personally. One more thing. What was I going to say to you? Kind of important, I think. I don't know, I forget. Anyway, all right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Gotta thank you for joining me right here on YouTube. Really hope you enjoyed all this great free content, all this great free information. And with that said, guys, happy Tuesday to you. Best of luck to you. And I look forward to seeing you later on today on my website at BrockPage.com.